Guys, Elon Musk predicted an 18-month US recession, while Fed Chairman Jerome Powell announced a course to aggressively fight inflation by slowing the US economy. Have they decided to do that after all? And what does this mean for the financial markets and for all cryptocurrencies? I'll tell you all about it right now. The first time Elon Musk announced a recession was on December 30th, 2021. Back then, he predicted it would come in the spring or summer of this year, but not later than 2023. And this Monday, he said that the recession seems to be here and will last for about 18 months. Does that mean we have 18 months of a bear market? Actually, no. Even Musk says a recession is not necessarily bad. Well, let's look into it. What is a recession? If you take the definition, a recession means a period of economic downturn when a country's GDP declines for 2 quarters. A recession often precedes a financial crisis characterized by rising inflation, unemployment, and dropping stock indices. Also, crediting slows down, which is often the result of tightening monetary policy. Here's how Musk himself commented on his statement. Recessions are not necessarily a bad thing. I've been through a few of them. And what tends to happen is, if you have a boom that goes on too long, you get a mislocation of capital. It starts raining money on fools, basically. Well, it's clear that this is a direct allusion to Biden's policies for overcoming crisis caused by the virus when the Fed printed several trillion of dollars. And Americans received more benefits than they had previously earned by going to work every day. Here's how Elon explains it. The obvious reason for inflation is that government printed a zillion amount of more money than it had. Elon says that in these 18 months of recession, we're not necessarily in for the collapse of everything. His experience suggests, and sort of the bullish companies go bankrupt, and the ones that are doing useful products are prosperous. And there is certainly a lesson here that if one is making a useful product and has a company that makes sense, make sure you're not running things too close to the edge from a capital standpoint. What came to your mind when you heard these words from Elon Musk? My first thought was the cryptocurrency Luna and its stablecoin UST. Musk's hint is straightforward: to transfer to the cryptocurrency market. Now we need to bet on sustainable assets. So the Biden administration has started inflation, and the bomb is exploding right now, sending America into recession. Why does this seem to be the most likely scenario today? I can only draw my own conclusions from the very recent press conference of Fed Chairman Jerome Powell, who finally spoke openly about the need to slow the economy down through monetary policy because otherwise they can't do anything about inflation. Here's what he said in his speech. We need to see clear and convincing evidence that inflationary pressures are easing and inflation is dropping. And if we don't see that, then we have to consider more aggressive action. This is a direct reference to the fact that current US inflation is 8.3%, while the Fed's inflation target is only 2%. And by aggressive action, we mean raising the rate by another 50 basis points at the following 2 Fed meetings, as well as the Fed's asset sales program, the so-called quantitative tightening, which starts in June. The main factor that has caused the Fed to inspire everyone's hopes of self-destructive inflation for so long without action is Treasury bond yields. 10-year papers are a benchmark whose profitability is already back to 2018 levels. The point is that the higher the percentage, the more expensive it is for the US to service its own national debt, which has surpassed $30 trillion. But they are ready for a further increase in the rate because inflation is finally out of control. The factors that were supposed to stop it, such as the recovery of logistics chains and energy price declines, are not working now. And currently, we can't wait for the situation to change any longer. Of course, Powell is trying to explain that the US economy can cope with the impending blow. Still, he said the key phrase, restoring price stability, is an absolute necessity. That's what we have to do. And this will be realized by artificially restricting demand by making money more expensive. People will simply be put in such conditions that they will be forced to spend less. Hence, businesses will have to cut costs and start reducing wages. Also remember that in the US, during the long bull market and cheap money, there were a lot of so-called zombie companies, which if credit goes up, will be forced to significantly reduce their business and maybe even leave the market. Elon Musk talked about a case when shit companies would go bankrupt. The question is, how many, and whether we will see mass bankruptcies. And now you have a few seconds to check if you're subscribed to our channel, while I'm moving on to the main topic. What's gonna happen to the cryptocurrency market in this case? Guys, what you need to understand is that Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies were super lucky when they appeared. The digital gold hasn't yet faced a real financial crisis in its history. Even though there were substantial corrections against them, we got our own cycles for the cryptocurrency market, but there was never such an experience like collapse. And now, there is no possibility to count on the Fed to turn on the money printing press, as it was in 2020, and expect the flow of free liquidity that will lead to the growth of all assets. Uncertainty breeds fear, and that's why we see the Bitcoin price reacting painfully to any drop in the US stock market. But I'm not gonna scare you in vain, because the financial processes that are going on in the global economy at the moment are in the cryptocurrency market cycles, and what happens next could actually be a great opportunity. I agree with Elon Musk that the US will not avoid a recession, and perhaps it's already started. But the recession is not necessarily a financial crisis. They've happened many times before, and it rarely gets to the worst case scenario. So the most likely situation right now is a gradual correction in the stock market, where indices will lose another 10% or even 15% of their value. After that, we'll get a new bottom for Bitcoin, and there is no reason to say that the cycles will not work yet, and the price of the first cryptocurrency will not stop above $20,000. A recession of a year and a half may go through a correction scenario in the first 6 months, after which we'll have a gradual recovery. We need this time frame to understand which companies turn out to be shitty and which produce an actual product, and whether it makes sense to invest in them for the long term. As for Bitcoin, it will look like the final point of drop, after which there will be a prolonged consolidation phase for several months and then a new recovery during 2023. I think I don't need to explain to you how right those who bought Bitcoin at 500 in 2014 or at 6,000 in 2018 were. Their benefit for today is obvious, and this cycle could happen again, only with different prices. Still, it'll be much worse for altcoins. Many will no longer return to their all-time highs that we've seen in the past 2 years. But this is a natural selection in the financial markets. That's why it's important right now not to be alone, but to become a part of a community that will monitor the market and help you separate promising cryptocurrencies from the wrappers in your portfolio. Such a community is our YouTube channel. Thanks for watching. Your Coin Post.